All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this live session on tutorials on hands-on, um, that is limiting hands-on privilege escalation. So I'm going to be doing a live on practical on how I can be able to create different users in the company and grant them different privileges. So the main aim of this practical is to be able to know how you can be able to assign different roles and privileges and resources to different employees or workers in a company, hence improving on the security, that is the confidentiality and availability and integrity and availability of resources in the system. So based on the lab that was given, I will begin by creating some users into the system. So these users are going to act as the employee. So the first user I'll be creating is Lionel. So I'll be creating Lionel. I'm going to be creating another worker or user called Cataline and Maggie. So I'll start by creating the user Lionel. So to create the user, I use the command sudo add user Lionel. Then I'm simply going to enter the password. So as you can see, the user Lionel already existed. So I'll do the same for Cataline. So as you see, I earlier created all of the users, that is Cataline, Lionel, and I also granted them I also assigned them their different passwords. So now that, okay, let me create the user Maggie to be sure that the user Maggie has already is present in the system. So as you can see, they say password user does not exist. So I will write the command again, sudo sudo add sudo user add then Maggie. So as you see, the user already exists. So now that our user has been created, that is now that we have different users in the system, our next objective is we are going to assign these users different level privileges into the system. That is, each and every user will be able to access different resources that are found in the system. So for us to be able to do that, we are going to be using we are going to start by configuring using the command sudo vsudo to be able to configure the privilege file. So now we are into the privilege file. So we are going to start by configuring Lionel. We are going to configure Lionel such that, so if we scroll down, as you can see here, the configuration has already been set up. So we'll start by configuring Lionel. That is, we'll give Lionel all the privileges using the command all equals to open bracket slash closing of bracket all. So here Lionel has all the root privileges, all the sudo privileges in the system. Then the next user, that is Cataline. Cataline will have all the privileges to be able to access the service systemctl, and that is will be able to access the service and be able to see the status of the service sshd. Then Maggie will be able to have the privileges to perform some tasks on the disk, on the storage of the system. So these are the configuration, these are the different roles that have been assigned to the user in the system. So After assigning, you are going to go ahead and save the work and exit as you did earlier. Then for us now, for our next objective will be creating, we'll create some, we're going to create we're going to be testing the user's privileges by logging into their account and testing if the configuration that was made works perfectly. So we're going to start by logging in into the Lonex account. So to log in, use the command su/lone. So as you see, the user does not exist or other entries does not. Use the command sudo su lone. So as you can see, we are into the Lonex configuration and everything is working perfectly. So we are simply going to exit using the command exit, and we'll do the same for Catalin. We'll do the same for Catalin. Sudo su Catalin. Alright, get command su / Catalin. Catalin. Go ahead and put the password of Catalin. And now we are in. So as you can see, everything works well. Get some services. Go ahead and put the security password. Now you see everything works perfectly. So I'll go ahead and exit, and now I'll do the same for Maggie. Go ahead to do the same for Maggie, and so you see everything is working well, everything works well. So for our next objective, objective now is we should be able to disable all sudo timer. That is, users should be able to log in at specific period of in time into their accounts in the that is their company accounts. So that is, at your own account, the command prompt, we are going to entering the password, the command sudo fidix/l. So as you can see, everything works well for the command Maggie. That is, Maggie can be able to get all the disk information. So everything is working perfectly. So our next task is, as we said earlier, our next task is we're going to disable the sudo timer on our system. And to be able to do that, we are going to be what's the pseudo timer? The pseudo timer is the time it takes for a user to remain as a pseudo in the system. That is when a system grants you access to be able to use pseudo privileges and pseudo resources, it it grants you access with a certain period of time. So that is what we call that is the time stamp span that we're talking about. So we're going to be disabling it in such a way that you can be able to log in and remain as a sudoer without the time ex- expired. So for us to be able to do that, we're going to be using the command sudo dash k. Yeah. So the command sudo dash k simply resets your timer. So that you'll be able to have the ability to enter your password again. So to be able to test it, we are going to open we are going to use the command up sudo vsudo to be able to open the configuration file. Now you see here I'm actually having the ability to enter the password. So I'm going to simply enter the password and I'm in. So now I'll to be able to disable the password completely, I'll need to perform another privilege configuration. So I'm going to scroll down, going to scroll down and I'll make sure I add the line. I'm going to add some configuration line. So I'll scroll down and look for the default specific section. So where do I get the default specific section? Yeah, so I can see here is the default specific section. So I'll simply paste the command here. So as you can see, the command is default time span timeout 0. So this is the command I'm going to be using to able to disable the pseudo timer in my system. So now the user will not be able to, when the user logs in, the timer that was required is is going to be disabled. So the user can remain as a sudo for a very long time. So I'll simply save my work and I'm going to exit. So after saving my work, I'm going to try to log in again as a as a root user. So I might use the password. So when I enter the password and I come out, so let me try it again. Now out. So you see everything is working well. So now everything is working well. When you now that the time has been disabled, when the user logs out of the root, anytime the user wants to log in, the user must enter the password. So as you see, everything now works very well. So what's going to be our next objective? Our next objective is we are going to be performing this time out, disabling this time out on the user Lionel. So now I was using the default user, that is Kali, to perform this task. So now we are going to be emphasizing to that the user should be disabled. That is, the user that has to be the time interval for logging in has to be disabled is the user Lionel. So to be able to do that, we are going to open the vsudo again earlier, and we add some other configurations. So I'm simply going to use the very command. So as you can see, anytime I want to access the sudo file, I'll be able or need to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and paste. So now we are emphasizing. So we use the command default. Now the default now is Lionel. So we emphasize on the user Lionel, and now we set this time span to 0. So now when Lionel accesses the sudo resources, anytime Lionel has to log out, you anytime he logs out and tries to log in again, he has to enter the good passwords. So every time Lionel logs out and wants to log in, he should be redirected to enter the root password before the access is going to be granted. So I'm going to save my work and exit. So now now that everything is working, so now our next objective is, as we said, was to disable the timer. So from our command shell, we are going to repeat the command that we performed earlier. Then we are going to log in as Lionel and perform the command again. So now let's try to log in as Lionel. So we use the command su Lionel. So we're going to log in as Lionel. So now we are in. So we are in. Now we are going to view our privileges in the Lionel's account. So we're going to use the command sudo -l. Now we realize that we need to access using the root privileges. So now you see this is the privilege that Lionel has. Lionel has all privileges to the system, and the timeout works perfectly. So if I exit, I log out from the account and I try to log in again, you see, enter the password, you're in, go ahead and we test. So you see now we are redirected to enter the root password before we have access again to the system. So you can see we're supposed to we are required to enter the root password. So for our next lab, let me go ahead and exit, clear my screen. Okay. So for our next lab, we are going to, like earlier, like said in the document, we are going to be using an Ubuntu system, Ubuntu server, and we are going to be installing some encryption packages to be able to perform this practical. So the encryption package that we're going to be using is encryptf/ut. So this is a package used in encryption. So we're going to be simply using the command sudo apt install encrypt slash uc. So put in our our root password. So we'll just give some few time for this package to be installed. So while this package is being installed, we are going to create a user with an encrypted home directory for Cleopatra. That is the name for Cleopatra. And then we are going to view the result. So to be able to do that, we are going to use, we'll be using some commands. That is, we are going to add the user, and the name of this our user now in the system is going to be Cleopatra. But now what we are doing is we are going to be configuring the user's home directory such that the home directory should be encrypted. So I'm simply going to wait for the installation to complete. Okay, so now the installation has been completed. I'll go ahead to clear my screen so that I can create enough space. So now, as we said earlier, we're going to be adding a user. So we use the command sudo, that is root privileges add user. Then we use the command slash slash encrypt home. So the function of this command is to encrypt the home directory of the user we are going to be creating, and the name of our user is Cleopatra. So I'm simply going to go ahead, enter my password, and now everything is fine. So if I enter the command ls slash l home directory, so as you can see, this is what we get, showing that the user has been encrypted already. Or another way is I'll log in to the user Cleopatra. Cleopatra does not exist, or the user entry does not contain. Right. So um I'll try entering the command again. Okay, I think there's a problem with the command I used. What could be the problem? So I'll just go ahead to check the format. Maybe we use the wrong format to perform this task. So add group, add user,